This episode is brought to you by 1923 on Paramount Plus. In Taylor Sheridan's new original series 1923, the Duttons confront challenges, including the end of the First World War, America's industrialization, and the start of the Great Depression. Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford star in the new original series 1923, streaming December 18th exclusively on Paramount Plus. Head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, going to a holiday concert at Heinz Hall can be a yearly seasonal treat for families, but for people with sensory issues, the jarring sounds and changing lights can make it nearly impossible to sit through. The Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra is changing that, though, with their sensory-friendly Holiday Pops concert. I'm here with Suzanne Perino, who produces these shows. It's Wednesday, December 14th. I'm Morgan Moody, and this is CityCast Pittsburgh. So, Suzanne, first of all, why are these kinds of concerts important?
Yeah, for some families, this will be the only arts experience that they come to as a family. Mm-hmm. You know, typically we hear from parents especially that when they bring a child who is on the autism spectrum or who has a physical disability, that they are shunned or judged by other audience members. If there is a person that is accompanying a family and has an outburst, they are, looked on like you should not be here. This is an environment that is welcoming. So the families will bring their typically developing children as well as children who are on the spectrum who have a physical disability, and they'll attend as one family unit. And for some, this is the first time that they will be able to do that.
Are the concerts just for people on the spectrum? And also, what kind of modifications are made to make the concert more sensory-friendly?
Sensory-friendly concert is for anyone, but we specifically create programs for anyone who has a concern about coming to a typical classical concert.
Yeah.
Anyone who might need some modifications for physical disabilities, or might have sensory sensitivities, or might be on the autism spectrum and would feel more comfortable coming into this concert.
Yeah.
So we try to mitigate any sudden loud sounds so that there's no sense of all of a sudden you're hearing something that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Also is true with the lighting. We try not to do things like strobe lighting or really intense lighting changes or lights that are coming at you. So once again, it's an expectation that you won't be all of a sudden hit with these different sensory overload issues. And then we also have people speaking throughout the concert, talking about the music. The script is a little bit more direct and literal, so you don't have words that would have double meanings, inside jokes, that sort of thing. Things are very direct and straightforward.
Could you give an example of what that sounds like? I think that's kind of a little bit hard to imagine. I guess, for people that might not have sensory issues or on the spectrum, what does it mean to be very direct in the communication? Or what's happening during the symphony?
Yeah, so during the script, speaking from stage, we might say, today we have many guest artists. These guest artists will come to the front of the stage and sing. We invite you to sing along with them when they ask you to, instead of something that would be a little bit more indirect, like, we might be singing songs today, just wait. We don't know. We'll have surprises that come in. Just watch for the flashing light. Something that is completely the opposite, not as straightforward.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you choose your music specifically to be sensory friendly. What songs will the orchestra be performing, and what songs would they not perform?
Well, we are starting this concert with Sleigh Ride by Leroy Anderson, and that does have a whip, like you were in a sleigh drawn by horses back in the old times, and there'd be a whip to get those horses going. So we will most likely, depending on how it sounds in the rehearsal, replace that with a wood block instead, so that you don't have that sudden slap. That would be one example. Sometimes, with cymbal crashes, that's so sudden. Sometimes with high-pitched, ringing glockenspiel bells after, 3, 4, 5 repeated patterns, that can be very annoying. So we try to keep those out and pick music. This year we're doing 2 sing-alongs. We have Nutcracker, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, and Dance of the Merrillites. My favorite things from The Sound of Music, Christmas sing-alongs like We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
And Deck the Halls and that kind of thing. So
Classics.
It will be really fun. Yes, classics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe you're already starting to think about how you want next year to be different. Those resolutions and goals for the new year. If you're looking to buy your first home, now's the perfect time to listen to the How to Buy a Home podcast. Host David Sidoni is an industry expert, and his podcast has helped so many listeners close on their first homes. David can guide you through next steps that are right for you, whether you're planning to buy a home now or 5 years from now. Plus, he just released a first-time home buyer starter kit at howtobuyahome.com. Start planning this holiday season at howtobuyahome.com and make this the last year that you rent. Find How to Buy a Home on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's no ordinary political podcast.
I want this to be a fun, informative way for people to find out the latest and greatest in Georgia political news.
Politically Georgia, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
We want to take people inside the deals, inside the decisions.
Political insiders Greg Bluestein and Patricia Murphy lead the AJC's team of journalists at the legislature and Washington.
For the nation, Georgia could really set the tone on so many different issues.
We want to make it easy and fun to listen and learn about politics.
Know what's really going on with Politically Georgia from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Listen every Wednesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
The Pittsburgh Symphony was one of the first orchestras to have a fully inclusive experience. What inspired you to do this, and how did you figure out what a fully inclusive concert looked like if you didn't have, examples to base it on?
Well, I will say that Pittsburgh as an arts community is very supportive. And so back in 2013, we were part of the Greater Pittsburgh Arts Council kind of professional development sessions. So we went into all of these different sessions trying to learn as much as we could about how to program and create environments for people with disabilities, people on the autism spectrum, people with sensory issues, so that we could prepare ourselves for the concert that happened 2 years later in 2015. So that's how we got into it, because the entire cultural district was really embracing this idea of these patrons that we really needed to connect with more and to serve in a better way. And that is essentially between 13 and 20% of the population, depending on how they self-identify on census, this audience that we weren't addressing as genuinely as we should have been.
You've talked about the concert being, inclusive, and one of the elements of that can be price. It's not cheap to enjoy the arts.
Right, it's not cheap to enjoy the arts. For this concert, we made the decision to have every seat at $15. So that is quite a cut from the regular holiday pops that this is based on. So this,
how much is it usually regularly?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually between $25 and $65 mostly for a typical classical concert. So this is a price cut. You can also, if the person you are bringing is not feeling up to attending a concert, we will give you 100% refund on your ticket the day of.
That's nice.
So that kind of ensures that we are trying to be as sensitive as possible so that you can attend for a lower price, and then you can feel free to ask for a refund if you're not up to feeling like coming down to the hall that day.
How have your inclusive concerts evolved as you've continued doing them over the past few years? Yeah.
When we first started these sensory-friendly concerts, we would offer fidgets at the front door, and we expected it to be like a Fiddlesticks Family concert where kids are coming through the door and they've got all this energy and they're super excited. And there was exactly the opposite of what we experienced. People were coming through slowly and deliberately and weaning away from wanting to talk to people or see people with fidgets, offering them programs and fidgets and advice. And we just learned immediately to let people have their space, to let them come into the lobby, to let them figure out where they are and get some sense of what they want to do, where they want to go, and then offer them some fidgets, offer them directions, but really don't jump in and try to explain the whole experience as people were coming through.
Yeah.
I think the staff and the volunteers were super excited to launch the first one in 2015. And so we were extremely energetic. And so we were confronting people in a space where they just needed to not be disturbed coming into a new environment. And so we learned that immediately. Just everybody calm down, take 4 steps back, and wait for people to come to you.
Has it worked better?
Yes, absolutely. It's worked better. And I should say that we have a fabulous accessibility advisory committee. So we don't assume that we know everything. We go to the experts and the networks that are out there to say, is this appropriate? How can we modify this? What should this look like? Because we would never assume that we knew everything about music therapy or occupational therapy or folks who are hard of hearing or have low vision. We never assume that. We just seek out experts, and they're fabulous on our advisory board. So.
And Suzanne, you're obviously a person with, passion and a love for classical music, or I would hope.
Yes.
What does it mean to be able to give that kind of experience of, going to an orchestra or to a concert to more people?
Oh, I think it is an incredible opportunity. It's an incredible gift. But also it opens up your life experiences to something that is just so enjoyable, and it's live music will affect you in ways that recorded music or listening to it on the radio will not. Being in the auditorium with other people in a social environment, feeling the energy of the music, of the people around you, and letting it impact you personally is something that everyone should experience and have that opportunity.
Suzanne Perino is the Executive Vice President of Learning and Community Engagement for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The sensory-friendly Holiday Pops concert is this Saturday, December 17th at 2:30 p.m. at Heinz Hall. We'll drop a link in our show notes where you can get tickets. A little more news before you go. The field to replace Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald is getting a little more crowded. County Council member Liv Bennett announced she's running. She wants to bring progressive reforms to the county. Former City Controller Michael Lamb and Social Services Manager Aaron McClellan are also running, and more candidates are expected to enter the field soon. And we're about to get some new historical markers in and around Pittsburgh. The Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission recently approved dozens of new markers, including 4 in Allegheny County. I'm really excited to see this one commemorating Teenie Harris on the list. He was a photojournalist with the Pittsburgh Courier who captured the Hill District's Renaissance during the 50s, and some pictures of my own family. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Music today was from the Boston Pops Orchestra and the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. If you enjoyed the sound of the show, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city, so we'll see you then. Suzanne, what is your least favorite holiday song?
Oh, probably Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
That's a valid one.